This presentation was recorded at the 2015 ANZICS ACCCN Annual Scientific Meeting.
First of all, the current chair, Craig French, will be giving us just a brief update on where the trials group's at. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks very much, Colin. I won't go on for too long because you'll be much more entertained by the four fantastic presentations that are showcasing, as Colin said, some of our recent, some of our current and some of our future research that is going to be occurring over the next short period of time. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, this year is our 21st birthday. The Intensive Care Trials Group, Critical Care Trials Group, it began at this meeting back in 1994 when the then enlightened President George Skoronsky got around 20 people together around the table. I think Jeff was there. Colin might have been there. No, I certainly wasn't. I was a trainee then as well, but it's a long time ago now, and we've certainly matured a lot since then. So who are we? We are now an established network that generates new knowledge. We do that by trying to define studies that are important to clinicians and important to clinicians that treat patients. We focus principally on questions of broad public health importance, and at the end of a long research program we usually find our way to having progressed to a large randomised controlled trial, and you'll certainly hear the results of some of those today. But effectively what we're interested in is the thing that Big Pharma isn't interested in, which is something of high public health importance and the cost of intervention is quite low. We've made a substantial contribution to Australia and New Zealand's scientific output. We've enrolled over 30,000 patients into observational studies, over 30,000 patients into randomised controlled trials. There's over 100 completed and funded or recruiting projects. It's over $70 million in competitive grant funding. Well over 100 manuscripts now, multiple publications in high-impact journals, including the New England, JAMA, Lancet, BMJ, and we are changing worldwide practice. Those of you that may have heard Naomi Hammond's Fluid TRIPS presentation, that gives a fantastic indication of how the results of the clinical trials group fluid therapy program has influenced worldwide practice. We also now understand how to run a productive and efficient trial network, and our opinions in how to design randomised controlled trials and run networks are in demand, and many of us are now providing advice to our colleagues outside the intensive care network, and we're fostering the development of trials networks in other disciplines. But most importantly, we are a community of clinicians and researchers. All of us still practice in intensive care medicine, and for that reason our research tends to be translated promptly into clinical practice. This is how many units we have across Australia and New Zealand. We're always looking for more members. If your unit is interested in joining the clinical trials group, please go and see Donna at the ANZICS booth and think about signing up. If you're interested in research, go and see Donna. She will also help you. You can join ANZICS at the same time if you're not already a member, and come and be part of our group. Some of the recent funding decisions that I am able to talk about are last year's funding decisions. This year's funding, NHMRC round in particular, is coming out hopefully today or Monday. We're not really sure of when the Minister's announcement will be. But as you can see, we are funded for large-scale clinical trials, and what is important to recognise is that that funding translates into nurse and research coordinator positions around Australia and New Zealand. Our trials support the conduct of research in many units and are absolutely critical for research infrastructure. That became apparent earlier this year when there were some issues in New South Wales where clinical trials in intensive care had to stop because of a legal barrier, and some units found it very difficult to sustain their research infrastructure during that period of time. Some of you may know who this is if you're interested in horse racing. Anyone know who it is? No, it's American Pharaoh. And American Pharaoh won the Triple Crown this year, the first horse in well over 30 years to win the Triple Crown, which is the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness Stakes, and this one is it's coming to the line in the Belmont Stakes. And in our ICU research term, this is probably the Triple Crown. And we certainly, the clinical trials group, achieved that this year. And earlier this month, in October, in the space of 3 days, the clinical trials group had publications in JAMA, the New England Lancet. In JAMA, we had the split study; in the New England, the heat study; and EPO-TBI, which you'll hear about later today, in the Lancet as well. And just like a well-trained thoroughbred, there is a huge team behind our studies, and it's important to acknowledge who is behind our team, all the people that contribute to the studies. So what I've sort of showed you, I guess, a bit is the tip of the iceberg, the structures, the systems and the symbols, but really what's important to the success of the clinical trials group is the culture of the group, and that's very important to us. What exists below the line, I guess, it's our underlying beliefs and values. And we try to make research enjoyable, we try to make people have fun. We like to think of ourselves as offering a collegiate environment. We certainly don't shy away from hard work. We try to focus very much on the group rather than the individual. And although the group is structured, we try to be as non-hierarchical as possible. And this culture is very important. It's something that's evolved over the last 21 years and really is part of the secret to the success of the clinical trials group. So if you want to come along and join us, it is a lot of hard work. Working alone is a big load, and you don't tend to achieve that much. But if you come along with us, we don't promise the load will be any less, but at least you'll be sharing the load with a whole lot of others doing exactly the same sort of work. So here's the current crew of the clinical trials group and the regional representatives. You can contact them or see them around. We've just had some recent changes, and as you note there, Jeremy from Queensland looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, because if you Google Jeremy Cohen, Arnold Schwarzenegger comes up, because Jeremy here shares the same name as a Hollywood film producer. So thank you very much. I don't think there'll be any questions, and I think we should move on to the exciting presentations that sort of follow. Thank you.